Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for joining for today's webinar/workshop on Mendeley and APA style. My name is Yuri Pavlov. I'm a fifth-year doctoral student in Instructional Design, Development, and Evaluation department at Syracuse University. I'm originally from Belarus, and it's been my 6th year in Syracuse. Who knew I'd stay that long? Okay, I will be sharing my screen. And first of all, I'll start with some slides. I'll share my screen. Okay, so we will be using desktop version 1.19.8. It's of Wednesday today, November 17th. Ron, a master student in IDD&E, let me know yesterday, and I didn't know, that there isn't much support for Mac OS 11 Big Sur operational system. So unfortunately, if you have this system, I don't know to what extent this webinar will be useful to you, but at least we can see how Mendeley works. Also, the second link I shared is the link to the Google Drive. There are 3 basic documents that I want you to be mindful of. Number 1, it's the worksheet handout with which we will work on this webinar. So please download this document number 1, but please don't open it yet. If you didn't have Mendeley plugin linked to MS Word, Word should be closed, but have this document at the ready. We'll later try to work with document number 2. And then number 3, this is the manual, the post-workshop manual that includes all the steps we will do and probably will not be able to do in this webinar. It's just kind of a reminder how to handy material for your perusal. It has different sections, for example, citations for reports, some screenshots, steps to do, easy to follow. So this is a helpful resource, I think. Going back to the slides, also after that, I'll ask for your very short feedback, a couple of questions after this webinar. And for now, let's just, if you have a Google Documents, let's just create a simple Google Doc, because we'll try to drag citations to Google Documents in between. So it's done very simply. We'll go to, in the Drive section, Google Drive section, we'll go to New, Google Documents, and we'll create and share. And it will just open as plain. That's all. We do not need to do anything more at this point. Let's just have it open. One last slide I want to share. Yesterday, I looked at the information, 18 students who registered, and unfortunately, some of them won't be able to join. The understanding of APA is pretty solid, I would say, 3 out of 5, and especially for master's students, that's expected, I would say. With Mendeley, it's a little bit lower. So we target, the target audience today is people who have little understanding or knowledge of Mendeley. So okay, let me share my screen. So on my desktop, let me drag it here. In the middle of my desktop right now, this is what it looks like. So what we do when we download it needs to be installed. If you installed it, this is the screen that usually shows up after install. Installation takes maybe a minute or so. It's not very long. So what we'll do right now, I'll log into my Mendeley and connect the plugin to MS Word. This will be the steps. So I will use my email that I created. I mean, my profile that I created specifically for this workshop. I use my Syracuse email and the password. Okay. Once I press sign in, because it's new, it should look very barren. Nothing is there. So this is the screen. And right now, Microsoft Word is not open. So on your computers, Microsoft Word shouldn't be open either. What we do at the next step is in the Tools section, we have Install Web Importer, Install MS Word Plugin. This is what we have to press. It should be installed. And then if I go to our first handout, which is how to use APA with Mendeley handout, again, for those who are joining, this is the first document we're using from the Google Drive. I'll just open it in my computer. This is the document. Now we can check in the References tab, so Home, Insert, Draw, Layout, References section. Now we can see Mendeley installed here. What we do now, we have to check the style. There are several styles in Mendeley, and for Microsoft Word, we need American Psychological Association 7th edition. Sometimes it's blank if it's the first time you're using it. Sometimes it's set on the first one, American Political Science Association. We will be using American Psychological Association. This is the APA style that's used in the social sciences, behavioral sciences. Again, when I switch on my taskbar below to Mendeley Desktop, in the view section, there's tools, there's view section. Again, I'm going to check if my citation style is also psychological MPA. Sometimes, however, and I'll bring it, it's probably 7th edition at this point for everybody. Sometimes it says 6th edition. So what I do, I go to more styles and I right click my mouse and I say update style. Sometimes styles are outdated, so you update them. You can install additional styles if you want, depends on the journal. For example, if you're submitting articles for journals. Let's scroll to page number 3. So we are beginning. Hopefully in the next 20 minutes, we'll populate most of the information. I'll make it a little bigger. I'll actually do the following. I'll put it to half of the screen, my Word document. And I'll do the same with Mendeley for illustration purposes. This is what I'm doing. Because we'll be doing copy paste, maybe you'd want to do the similar thing. And I'll remove this section right here. I'll click on this little button so that the screen is fuller. So this is what we have. I'm on page 3 on the first handout. So Mendeley is very simple. We'll try with the first kind of journal article. This is what I prepared so that we don't waste a lot of time. What we do, the first step to do in Mendeley is we find this add button on the top left corner and we press add entry manually. And then this little window appears. I'll drag it out a little. This is what it looks like. Then this particular article from the journal Current Directions in Psychological Science has a DOI number. DOI number, digital object identifier, usually begins with 10 dot. 10 dot and whatever comes next, numbers or letters. I select it and copy it. So I copy this DOI, and in this section, in the type, again, journal article, this is what we're doing. In the DOI section, I place my cursor and I press paste. This is the DOI number that's in this document. Once I do this, I press the magnifying glass button and it finds the article automatically for me. However, we'll need to do some checking. The title, any title in this big bold letters on top should be in the sentence case, in the lowercase style. So we have to actually manually adjust it. So even though Mendeley found this article for us, it's really not correct in the way it's input. So I just go and change with my keyboard the call of the wild, how extremism happens. Pay attention that any subtitle that goes after a semicolon or exclamation mark or question mark starts with a capital letter. So that's why we leave this capital letter, the call of the wild, how extremism happens. We then check the names. Okay, they correspond to these names. That's the name of the journal. Journal title does come with capital letters, so we do not make any changes here. Then year, volume, issue, page numbers, they are all like here. Even an abstract was dragged. Text section is for our own text. For example, I can put the word extremism if I want, if it's my research topic or something. Or I can, whatever, press today's date because I read it today, November 10, you reread it. It's irrelevant. It's not going to be showing up in the references. Author keywords, these are the keywords from the articles. Usually you see them in the articles. I copied them in the Word document. So again, I copy them, extremism, moderation, motivational imbalance, and I paste them in the author keywords. That's all. Then I press save. We're on the same page. So I press save. This is our first entry. Pay attention, that's all. What we can do with that entry though, we can, remember I asked you to open the Google document in the browser. So from Mendeley, I just drag it and go to my Google document and I insert it. And this created a citation in the APA style. So this is our first reference that we created. Let's do one more time. Let's do the second one a little bit faster, okay? So example number 2, we're still on page 3 of the handout. Again, we go to add entry manually. In the type section, automatically it says journal article. we just leave it there. And see, this journal article number 2, it doesn't have the DOI number. So unfortunately, we'll have to populate this by hand. So again, we copy creativity under the gun. We delete the title and press creativity under the gun as title. Our authors, and pay attention, the format is last name, first name, initial dot. But we'll just copy them. What journal is it? Harvard Business Review. In 2002, I'm copy and pasting. Volume 80, copy. Issue number 8, I copy. Pages, I can press it actually, pages 52/61. I did it manually. There is no abstract. There are no tags, no author keywords. There is a URL because it's also available online, and I place it in the URL section. So it created it for me, and that's all. Again, we created a second entry, and we press save. Again, if I want to insert it in my Google documents, I drag it into the Google documents and just place it there. So we again created it. And the reason it's interesting to, let me be a little bit bigger. There are so many nuances in APA. Like for example, this particular dash, it should be an N dash. It's not just a dash, and it's not M dash at the same time. If you take a look, if it's a journal article, it becomes in italics, and the volume issue is in italics. However, the issue is not in any way too much, but Mendeley does it automatically. We'll be moving to page 4 as Violetta's continue. Now we'll be looking at some books. A lot of information that we will need from the books is contained on the first pages. On the copyright page, it's right here. This is the copyright page, and also kind of the front page. What information do we need? So again, we will be inserting book titles. Again, on the add button, we add entry, but now we have to choose book from the type option. Not deal, not book section, but the whole book, because we're adding the whole book. And here, again, I'll be copying book title, instructional design, I'm pasting. Book authors, again, Patricia Smith, Tillman Reagan. Year 2005, we press 2005. Again, for whole books, we do not put page numbers because it's only used for book sections. We have an abstract. We don't need to insert it, but I'll insert it again for illustration purposes. It's, for us, because sometimes we can be looking information in Mendeley by keywords, and this can be helpful. There are no tags, so we can create our own tags. City and state, we place it into the city and state, but a note of caution, APA style 7th edition does not require the city. So this section can be left blank, but we'll do it again for illustration purposes. Then we have edition, it's edition number 3. There are no editors. Publisher is, again, from the copyright page, John Wiley and Sons. Copy and place publisher. There is a URL. I will not insert it because it's irrelevant for books. But it's also online, what people can buy it. And ICBN, it's also irrelevant, but I'll copy it just because, what if I need to find a book by an ICBN next time I'm searching? So this is the book entry. So number 3, Smith and Reagan. Again, I'll drag it to my Google Docs, and here's the citation. Smith and Reagan, instructional design, 3rd edition, John Wiley and Sons. It created automatically. It'll be the same in MS Word, although we will not have to drag anything. We'll continue. We have another book, but this time the book has a DOI. And again, remember, if we have a DOI, it's preferable because most of the time, the information is already populated. Again, I go add entry manually. I select book, and let me enlarge it. And I will copy the DOI. I'll start with the DOI. I select it in MS Word, copy, and I place it here in the DOI section and paste. And on the magnifying glass button, I press find. Okay, it found something. Look, it found the ICBN number, so I don't have to put it. It found the URL. It found the publisher, which, by the way, look, the publisher is actually a different publisher, Lawrence Earldom Associates. However, it found a different book. It found the year 2013. It found different version. Mine is year 1988. See, so Mendeley is not really always right. And again, the title has to be lowercase every time. So statistical power analysis, for the behavioral sciences, I'll have to manually adjust the title. Jacob Cohen is the author. That's correct. But the year, again, not 2013. The book I'm interested in is from 1988. I adjusted manually. Page titles will leave blank. Abstract, we don't have to provide anything. Tags, it's my own tags. Keywords, no keywords. City, again, city is not necessary, and this book doesn't have the city, so we leave it blank. What edition number? It's edition number 2. So I put number 2. And there are no editors. Again, publisher is Lawrence Earlbaum Associates. So I copy this publisher and change it in Mendeley. Okay, this is our entry for the book with a DOI. So I press save right now. If anybody has questions, please feel free.
Can I ask a quick question? So you put in the DOI and then you said you hit find. Mm-hmm. Where is the find?
It's just.
Oh, it's the magnifying glass.
Yes, it's the glass.
Got it.
Find automatically. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't want to. If I press it right now, it will come back to the incorrect.
No, that's fine. I was trying to do it, so I wasn't looking at what you were doing.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. So once we have this information, again, I save, and it appeared as number 4 in our database. Look, in our database, we already have 4 titles. And again, just for illustration purposes, I'll drag it from Mendeley slowly to Google Drive. So now we have Jacob Cohen, Statistical Power Analysis, 2nd edition, Lawrence Earlbaum, and it does add the DOI. Remember, APA asks if a title, a publication has a DOI, we report this DOI. So yeah, that's the thing. So I'm getting back to Mendeley. We'll be moving then to the next, to the edited books. So we'll be moving to page number 6 in this handout. Page number 6 in the handout, the edited books. The type is book, not yet book section. Let's copy International Handbook of Emotions in Education. We copy that since we don't have a DOI, and we paste it. Then we have, we don't place authors if it's an edited edition. The editors will come a little later, so we'll leave authors blank if we reference the whole book. Our year is 2014. Again, we leave blank pages. We leave blank abstract. We leave blank tags, author keywords, city. We can leave out city because APA doesn't require. I will use it again for illustration purposes. APA in 6th edition required it. So again, just for illustration. Its edition number actually was the 1st edition, but if it's the 1st edition, we'll never put it as 1st edition. We only start with 2nd, 3rd, 4th, so we leave it blank. Editors, Reinhard Pekran and Lisa Linenbrink Garcia, I copy those. And in the editors, I place their names. Publisher is, how do I even say that in English? Routledge? I copy that.
It's Routledge, I believe.
Again, we have the URL. We don't have to insert it. Again, just illustration purposes, I'll place the URL. And ICBM, we don't have to, but again, I do it because sometimes I need this information. Okay, so we populated again another book, but it's an edited book. It's not just an authored book anymore. See, we didn't place anybody to authors because it has multiple authors, multiple chapters. So we press save. And again, it's at the end, and take a look what changes if I drag it back to Google Drive. So now, oh, actually look, I didn't, wrong, people, it's good. I didn't realize. Let's remove the URL. I went back, I pressed this button in the middle, right here. So let's remove, see, it overrides URL. Oh no, it adds it when it doesn't have to. So let me remove that. And again, if I do this, dragging exercise, see we have, look what it does, Pekran, Linenbrink Garcia, and it places eds, just as the APA style suggests. We continue. We have another edited book, but this time we have a DOI, so it's going to be hopefully a little bit faster. We again, in Mendeley, we press add entry manually. And again, it's a book. It's still a book, the last example for a book. We go with DOI, select the DOI, we copy it, and we place it in the DOI section. It's towards the end. I paste the DOI, and I press the magnifying glass, look up a button, and let's see what it found. So it found the Oxford Handbook of Human Motivation. That's correct, only we have to manually correct the title again, because the title has to be lowercase, unless it's a personal name or the name of psychological instrument, for example. So it should be lowercase. And Oxford obviously is the name of the place. So authors we leave blank because it's an edited volume. 2019, we leave pages, abstract, tags, keywords, irrelevant. City is also irrelevant, but again, illustration purposes, I copied and pasted New York, New York. Or see, it already suggests me as an option automatically. It is a second edition. We put number 2. The editor is Richard Ryan. That's correct. It's Oxford University Press. It identified it correctly. This URL was found automatically, so it will not interfere. It has a DOI, an ICB. I'll press save right now. Just for illustration purposes, let's drag it to Google Drive. Let's see what it does for us. Yes, Richard Ryan, he's an editor. It's this book. It's the second edition, and it adds the DOI URL. That's exactly what it needs to be done in APA. Wonderful. So these are wonderful because we don't have to make any changes once we populate it. Again, see, our library is getting bigger and bigger. So now we're going to book sections and then conference proceedings. So we're almost halfway through with our with our citations. So it'll be a little faster. So book sections are a little bit more complex. So we go to add entry, and from the type, we just select book section. From the top, type, book section. And again, let me extend it a little bit. Again, we're doing the copy paste exercise today. That's the chapter title. This was taken from a book. So in the title, we place the chapter title, Evaluation in Instructional Design, a comparison of the major evaluation models. I copy that. I delete this boilerplate and I press my title. Again, there are authors of this chapter, of this section of the book, is these people, Berg Johnson and Angelina Bendall. I copy those and I paste them into the authors. And let me remove this extra line, we don't need it. What book is it from? It's from the book Trends and Issues in Instructional Design and Technology. I copy that. Please pay attention that the title of the book is again in lowercase. Title of the journals are title case. Every letter is capitalized. Book titles, not in the APA style. What year? It comes from 2018. So I copy 2018. And since it's the book chapter, it has pages. It's from page 87. I press it manually, 87 through -96. Okay, this is the title. We don't have the abstract. We don't have the tags, no keywords, but it is chapter 10. Well, let's put it, it's from chapter 10. It will not show up in the APA style, but if for our reference we need it, bibliographic reference, let's use it. The city is New York, New York. Again, I'll copy. Remember, city is not required in APA style. We're using it, again, it says tradition. Edition is number 4. This is the 4th edition of this book, Trends and Issues in Instructional Design Technology. The editors, it also has different editors, Robert Reeser and John Dempsey. We copy them into the editors and we'll remove the extra line that appears. So remember, we have authors of the chapter and we have editors of the book. And see, they're a little bit, it looks a little too far. They are too far from each other. The publisher is Pearson. Let me type it, Pearson. There is a URL, we don't care. There's ICB and we kind of don't care, but I'll copy it again as for illustrative purposes. So this is our book section entry, editors. So we press save. I'll drop it for our Google Drive and see what we have. Okay, let's move on. Conference proceedings. Let's add manual entry. And from the type options, we will find conference proceedings. That's what it's called, conference proceedings. Okay, and let me drag it a little further. Since we have a DOI number, we copy the DOI. We start with the DOI because it finds things automatically and saves our time. So I copied the DOI in the conference proceedings, and we press magnifying glass button, find. Okay. So it populated something, but I don't know if it's everything. So first of all, the title is AMSET, YourSet, Emotional Contagion in Computer-Mediated Communication. So the title wasn't full. So I have to kind of replace the title to make it the full title, okay? It created authors for us, all four authors, correct. You know, it has last name and full first name. Then it has the name of the proceedings of the ACM 2008 conference and computer supported cooperative work. However, we have to remember that the titles of this kind, everything has to be in lowercase. So I just make lowercase, and this is actually after the dash is not needed. I don't know why it added, because it's not in our proceedings title. So I remove this letter piece just to make sure that it's in compliance with the proceedings title. Then we have the year populated, but again, look at the page numbers. The page numbers are 295, 298. It only gave us 295, so we have to manually adjust 298. So see, sometimes looking by DOI is not a complete reference that we find. Again, abstract, we don't have to do it. We have it. I'll just copy it again, illustration purposes, because I may need it in the future. Tags, keywords, we don't have though. Well, we have keywords. If we want, we don't have to, but let's do it. Then look what it did for city. New York, USA, too much. We usually place New York and then the name of the state. So again, we have to correct manually. See how many kind of incorrections and mistakes automated Mendeley created for us. We don't have the editors because it's not an edited proceedings. It's ACM Press, that's correct. And we have a DOI. So these are our proceedings. Okay, so we corrected title, proceedings, page numbers, and the city. We had to adjust many things, but let's press save. So we created our conference proceedings. Again, at the end, they appeared, but I'll drag it back to Google Documents. And so it created proceedings for me. We'll move in then to page number 8, newspaper articles and blog posts. We add from the entry, we choose. We have to scroll down a little bit, the type, and we have to find newspaper article. Remember, newspaper article will be used for both newspaper articles and blog posts. This is a useful thing. So newspaper article. So I chose for us from yesterday, article title. That's my country, Belarus. Belarus migrant crisis exposes tensions within European Union. So we copied that title. We do have a problem right now at the border. So it's not only the US specific type of problem. So we paste this title into the newspaper article title. What are the authors? Who are the authors? Bojan Panchevsky and Drew Hinshaw. We copy those. And in authors, we paste. We remove the extra line that appeared at the end. The publication was the Wall Street Journal. And just like the titles of academic journals, titles of newspapers are capitalized. It was from 2021, I'm sorry. No pages because it's an online publication, no abstract, no tags, no keywords, no city. Day, yes, it was November 16 yesterday. So we place 16 as day and we put November as a month. Did I type it correctly? Okay, November 16, this is our URL. We copy the URL and also place it into the box. And I press, well, I just go somewhere else in a different, we don't have a DOI. So that's all. So with title, author, publication, year, and date in URL. This is our newspaper article. Press save here. And again, just as we did beforehand, I drag it to Google Drive. I place it down, let me scroll down, and this is what it does. Look at the difference in the date. Whereas previously we only had year, for newspaper articles, API requires the date, the exact date. So then the title, then the publication title, then the URL. That's all, we populated our data. Let's do one more. When we don't have a URL, when we actually took the article from the hand paper. So again, we add entry manually, not journal article. We select from the type newspaper article. From the 20 options we have, now we need newspaper article. I'll drag it a little bit. So that's the article title. Stanislav Petrov, Soviet officer who helped avert nuclear war, is dead at 77. See, sometimes in your academic work, you have to cite some sort of information about people that isn't published in academic journals. So in that case, articles in newspapers can be just handy. So I replace the title with this title, Stanislav Petrov. The author was Sewell Chen, copy the author. The publication was the New York Times. I copy the New York Times as a publication. It was published in 2017. So I've pressed 2017. And now I have the page number, B14. And I put the note here, B14 means section B, page 14. You know how sometimes papers have different sections, different pages. So we press B14. This is our page number. And again, we need day and month. So we find day, it was September 18, September 18, that's all. We don't need to, there's actually a URL for this address, but we're not going to be using it for now. If we have page numbers, we don't place URL. If we have URL, we don't put page numbers for newspaper articles. I'll press save. Again, just to see how different it's going to be now from the previous newspaper article. Again, same date style, but look what it does. It gets the title of the article, it gets the publication title, and that's the page number. That's all. We created the APA style. For blog posts, we create the newspaper article. Not because it's a newspaper article, it's because Mendeley creates the exact citation that APA needs through the newspaper articles type. So again, I chose Eric Hole. He's a neuroscientist and author. I like him. Sometimes he posts articles. So this article on my cursor, I will select it and place it in the title. Why do most popular science books suck? On the overwhelming needlessness of nonfiction. Right. Then I place his name under authors. And important, block in the publication, we put block titles, the intrinsic perspective. Keep in mind, in the URL, you'll see that he publishes on Substack. And Substack is a platform like WordPress, like blog post, like whatever. We don't put Substack or WordPress. We put the name of the blog, so it's intrinsic. Even though it's supported by Substack, we don't put Substack in the publication title, okay? So then year 2021. And again, we need a day, 22nd, month was September. And of course, we put the URL because it's a blog post. It's only on, it's only online. I select copy and URL. So this is that's all. Title, blog title, not the platform title, and then final URL. I save it. And again, we drag it to Google Word to see what it does. It does the same thing as for newspaper articles, but that's exactly what APA needs. The date is a little different. Finally, online dictionary entries. This is the last straightforward, and then two less straightforward things. What do we do? First, we start with web page entry, then we populate all information. In the last moment, we switch it to the generic type. There's a little bit of a twist for online dictionaries. Let's do it. So let's add entry manually. From the type section, we select at the almost at the very end, web page. We press it. So, for example, I wanted to know what epistemology is yesterday. It just struck me that I really needed to know. So I choose it. Then the author name is Merriam-Webster. Again, I copy that and place it as an author. Well, the publication, look, we need to do a twist here. For the publication, we put merriam-webster.com, that's the official site, and we add the word dictionary. It could be cambridge.com dictionary, online, Oxford Online, whatever dictionary. We use the word dictionary at the end to this. So we put it as publication. Then no year, no pages, no abstract, no tags, no nothing, but date accessed is important. And the day we accessed it was, let's say, November 6th. So let me copy that and paste it into the November 6th date accessed. And since it was online, of course, we need a URL. So I select the URL, copy the URL, and paste it. But before we hit save, that's the trick. For online dictionary entries, from web page, now we have to change it to generic. We have to find generic type and press it. And that's the trick, because it will have the date accessed here. Generic doesn't have date accessed modality, but we need the generic type citation in the final version. What we did, if we press save, it will appear at the end. And again, I'll drag it, and you can see it in the paper also. It will create a citation for the dictionary entry. So since we have no date, that's what we'll see, no date. We have the entry title, epistemology, and it's in Merriam.com, Merriam-Webster.com dictionary. And the phrase retrieved November 6th from, this is something that only online dictionary entries require in APA style. Well, in our webinar, I mean. I need some sort of, I guess, feedback. How are we doing? If we can give a thumbs up or thumbs down or anything that's, we'll continue. So we did the majority of the things. We only have 2 more things left, but we'll just use one example. With the reports, what we do, again, reports in APA style are things that have a number. Look at the number here, report number 1091. Or the second example that we'll not use, report number RR94. Let's add entry manually again. We'll extend it and we'll choose, for reports, we have to do generic style, not reports. Another copy paste, you'll be very tired by the end of it. So 2 more examples, don't worry, we're getting there. The author is US Bureau of Labor Statistics. You have to be careful here. If I place your Bureau of Labor Statistics and I hit enter, look what it does. It thinks that US Bureau of Labor is the first name and statistics is the last name. So that's incorrect. So I go back to the author because I need US Bureau of Labor Statistics. Once you do this, before you hit anything, with my cursor, I just place my cursor on the option and I hit it. So it saves it without creating any commas, without separating the last name from the first name, okay? So the report is from 2021 and we don't have anything else in information, only the URL. So we copy the URL and we place it in the URL section. This is our report, that's all. Okay, so we hit save. Report, so US Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's the report, year. Okay, let me drag it to Google Drive and let's see what happens. So it shows me who is the producer, year, the title of the report, and that's the report number. And that's unfortunately, Mendeley doesn't undo it. This is incorrect. It doesn't have to be in italics. It has to be straightened. But you'll have to do it manually towards the end. So just want to pay attention. Any report number that we place, let me put this other, in the second example, the same thing. Oh, I actually put it at the end of page 10. This is the second report. It will create the same thing. It will create the italics. This part report doesn't have to be in italics. Again, you'll have to adjust it manually later. But that's the best we can do so far with Mendeley. And finally, let's do one example with a video, okay? And this will be our last example, and then we'll move on to a little exercise. So videos are entered as film. So we add entry manually, and we do film, type as film. Let me make it larger. So again, what we do here, we select the title, introduction to research design. We have to add the word video at the end of it in brackets. This part, video in brackets, we add it manually. So it doesn't go with the original title. But we have to do this for YouTube and Vimeo. The director of the video, that's actually the holder of the YouTube channel, is Office of Research and Doctoral Services. That's their title. We just use it. It was published in 2015. Let's scroll it a little bit to the distributor. The distributor was YouTube. Y and T is capitalized for APA for YouTube. Then we have the URL number. We copy the URL number. Okay. And also, see, I place it in the text November 24. I'll copy that, but that warrants some comment. This tag will never appear anywhere. We'll have to insert it again manually at the final adjustment. Right now, okay, So we'll press save. So again, title. Ah, look what it did. It did a mistake again. The same mistake as US Bureau of Labor Statistics. It thought that the services is the last name. I don't need that. So again, I manually change it to doctoral services. I place my cursor on the option and hit it, so it doesn't create the last name for services. So now I press save. So we created this. And if I drag it to Google form just to see what it looks like, first of all, the date is incorrect. This videos are time sensitive in YouTube, so we'll have to add. Let me open this part of the section. We'll have to add this November 24 manually later. And again, video shouldn't be italicized in the brackets. So again, that's incorrect. But again, that's the best we can do in Mendeley so far. So this was our video. Now we're going to do a little exercise. We will not be populating anything else in Mendeley. We'll just be using what we populated. Some people joined later, but that's okay. I hope it'll be easy to see. I'll ask you, however, in the folder that I showed earlier, now to choose the second document, just if open it or download and open it, because what we'll do, we'll work with a little exercise. We'll try to populate in MS Word some titles, but I want it to be a different document just because we'll have to export this document. Since we already populated most of the information, what we'll have to do is basically after each, that's the context of our papers. We'll have to just populate information here. So for example, let me delete Jacob Cohen and I'll just show you quickly. We need to, this is our citation in our head. Let me do it in gray so that it doesn't bother us. But I know effect size eta squared of 0.14 is considered strong. Then I go to references. Then I go to insert citation. And I know that it's Jacob Cohen. So I start the last name. I put the last name here. I hit on the option and I hit OK. And it created, see, it created this automatically for me in the APA style. Let's choose this color. So we have Jacob Cohen. Instructional design is the systematic process of creating instruction and instructional materials. So that's our sentence, but we need to cite it, right, in our paper. Of course, if it's my blog post, I don't have to cite anybody. But for academic papers, anything you claim needs to be cited. So we know it comes from Smith and Reagan. So before the dot, I place my cursor, I put a space. And again, I go to references, insert citation, and I know it was Smith and, oh, it found it, Smith and Reagan. So I select Smith and Reagan and I press OK. And it creates in the APA style the end of the sentence citation, Smith and Reagan. The next sentence, look, we have a full citation here. I agree that one of the fundamental components of instructional design is evaluation. See, it's in quotations. So we need a page number. So we got it from Johnson and Bendolf from page 87. Again, we place it at the end, our cursor. We add one blank space. We go to references, insert citations. And again, it's Johnson and, oh, it found it. Johnson and Bendolf, second line, Berg Johnson, Bendolf, 2018. We select it. However, we need a page number. It was on page 87 because it was a quotation. So I place my cursor and select Johnson. And on the page number, I would put page 87. Okay. So I did it. When I select Johnson, I put 87 and I press OK. Look what it does. And I have to press the dot. It created again the citation in the APA style for Johnson and Bendolf, 2018, page 87. It added the page automatically also. Recent work on human emotions and motivation found overwhelming support for the self-determination theory. And we have to insert two citations from Ryan and from Pekran and Linenbrink Garcia. Again, before the dot, we go back and put a space. Then we go to references, insert citations, and let me drag it a little. We need Ryan. I usually start with last name. It's easier to find. This is the Oxford book 2019. Yes. But also we need Pekran and Linenbrink Garcia. Yes, second one. So we have two. Yes, it says no author because it was edited book. So no page numbers are needed, but we added 2 authors. And Mendeley automatically will place them in alphabetical order, just as APA requires. So we place OK. And see, it placed Pekran on the first place and Ryan on the second place automatically. So we don't have to worry about the order ourselves. Emotionality of a text can be detected using computerized programs. And this comes from this conference proceedings by Hancock et al. So again, before the dot, we put a space, we go to references, insert citation, and we place Hancock. Okay, it found it. I'm said, you're said, emotional contagion, and seems correct. No page number is needed. We hit OK. And again, it created for us an in-text citation. So it's in-text because it's not a reference list yet. It's still the body of our paper. Migrant crises aren't unique to the US, as evidenced by the current migrant crisis in the EU on the border of Belarus. This is from our newspaper article from yesterday. So again, before the dot, 1 space. In the tabs, we press references, select the insert reference, and we say Panchevsky. Okay, Panchevsky. We found the article Belarus migrant crisis exposes tensions, blah blah blah, and we press OK. Only 1 citation. Some authors contend that the best nonfiction books are written by amateurs, not scientists. This is from Eric Cole, who I kind of like reading. Again, before the dot, we put 1 space, blank space, press references, insert citations, and we press Eric Cole and his blog post, why do most popular science books suck? Good. And we select them. I selected just to show that it created the citation for us. A couple more. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines epistemology as the study or a theory of the nature and grounds of knowledge, especially with reference to its limits and validity. That's Merriam-Webster definition. So of course we have to cite Merriam-Webster. So again, we put a blank space, references, insert citation, and we try to, well, actually, let's epistemology. So because that's the entry that we need to find from Merriam-Webster, we select it. We hit OK, and we hit period, full stop. Here again, this is a correct citation, no date, because it's not, because Merriam-Webster entries are not dated. Next, from US Bureau of Labor Statistics. In 2020, some 1.1 million US employees worked for wages at or below the federal minimum. Again, this is a specific number. You always have to cite those things. So again, before the dot, 1 space, references, insert citations, and we say Bureau of Labor. Okay, it already found. Of course, once you have 1,000 references in your Mendeley, you'll probably have to select from the list, but now ours is small. We select this report, characteristics, and hit OK. And again, it created the citation for us. Finally, from the video, according to researcher Michael Quinn Patton, a scholar is someone who studies how the world is. Well, first of all, since it's going to be a citation, we have to remove this dot from here, add a space, and then it's a YouTube video by the Office of Research and Doctoral Services. We go to references, insert citation, and it's from Office, because it's not by Michael himself who put the video, it was this office. See, now when I press Office, 2 entries appear. We have to choose the one that we need. Of course, this one, because it's the video we're referencing. So we choose it. And we press full stop at the end. So this is the citation. Office of Research and Doctoral Services. So, okay, that was our Frankenstein paper. Consider from, starting with statistics, ending with what research is. In between, we had migrant crisis and epistemology and whatnot. But for the purposes of this exercise, this is exactly what we need. So what do we do next? We generate the reference list. I suggest we go to a new page, blank, blank, blank. Let me do it here. In the blank page, since we created those references, we go again to references, and we press insert bibliography. Are you ready for the magic? Ta-da! So we created the reference list. See, when I click on anything in this reference list, it becomes kind of, these are fields, Mendeley fields. So for now, before we remove those fields, I do not recommend editing anything here. It will disappear. You make one change anywhere here, and the whole reference list goes back to its default. Also, let me add before this reference list, the word references in bold and centered. That's what APA style requires. The word reference is centered and actually space in between. So this is our reference list. Almost perfect APA, except for we know that there's a video and the report that we'll have to adjust manually. This is how we generate reference list. But we need to make changes in the reference list. In the final, imagine this was our final paper. So what do we do now? We again go to references. We go to export as, and we choose without Mendeley fields. Without Mendeley fields, it will offer us to save the document somewhere on our computer. And because I have a folder for today's webinar, I just choose it there, and I will say webinar example without references, okay? And I save it in that folder. Once it's saved, it's not open. I'm still open with my handout. I'll close it. And in my folder, I choose the document webinar example without references. Pay attention that it's in Microsoft Word 97. I have no idea why. We can change it later, but I opened this document. So this document already has no fields. If I press anywhere on this section, the fields have been removed. Now I can make adjustments. And my adjustments pertain to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics report and the YouTube video, small adjustments that I have to make. So this is our video, Office of Research and Doctoral Services 2015. Remember, for video, the first thing to do is to unitalicize video. It does not have to be in italics. Also, we have to add the date of the video. And again, I don't remember from memory. So I go to so it was November 24. Let me copy that. So November 24, I have to put comma after the year and add November 24. This will be the correct APA citation for the video. Because for videos and blog entries and newspaper articles, this is time-sensitive information that we need to address. And also US Bureau of Labor Statistics. The only thing here is the report number doesn't have to be in italics. So we undo italics manually. That's all. But see, we only made three little corrections on the final reference list of, I don't know even how many. Let's quickly check. 11 entries. So that's all. So, and I press save. I mean, of course, I'll uncheck all this green colors, but this is what we created. The point is, by clicking this one reference, insert bibliography button, it saves us the headache of, is it capital letter? Is it not capital? Of course, you have to do or adjust many things manually in Mendeley. So it's a little bit of work in Mendeley, but at the end of the day, it's pretty rewarding to have this documented already. Somebody messaged something. Violeta's impressed at this point. Okay, Violeta, I'm very, very happy. And let me pause for a second. So we are done with the Mendeley section. I want to move on quickly to the table section. We still have some time, and I promise we'll be done in 10 minutes, 15. Violeta gives me a thumbs up. Okay, thank you, Violeta. I'll ask you again, let me share the screen again. If we can go back, handout number 1, we'll go to page 13 to work a little bit with tables. On page 13, creating an APA style table in MS Word. The interesting thing here is, of course, before we adjust anything, this section of the webinar is only about adjusting. Because of course, in the first place, you have to create a good table. And, and sometimes it's not that easy. For example, for this table, I already adjusted certain things, but this particular table has full 6 columns and 10 rows. What I did in the beginning, I pressed insert on the top section, I pressed table, and I had 6 columns. I choose 6, oops, 6, and it only allows me 8, but that's fine for the time being. And then I populated whatever data I had to populate, okay, just for illustration. But for example, you can see that graduate students have 3 sections here. So for example, this will be our, let me copy it this way. This was our CAS, master's, and PhD students. And this section was graduate. So instead of placing graduate everywhere in 3 times, and I hope you know the basics of MS Word, you just select 3 columns, you go to layout, and you go to merge cells. So it'll, you know, now it'll be 1 section. I'll just make it in the middle. Anyway, so those things have been done before this webinar. Adjustments were done, whatnot. How do we adjust it? First of all, please pay attention what happens here. Your table has to be, you know, with the table number, table title, and the note section, it all has to be 1 table. You cannot, for example, say table 1 outside the table. It's incorrect, especially if you send for publications, it should be 1 table. It should be, you should be able to drag it and everything drags, you know, everywhere. Also, APA only requires that we have horizontal borders. No vertical borders are necessary for APA style. So what we do, we select the whole table, we press on this little button, well, not little button, but kind of at the top of the table, there's this north, south, east, west button. I don't even know what it's called. So I select it. Then I go to table design. I found borders. Remember, we only need borders that are horizontal, but we cannot choose it here. So I place no borders. So remove all the borders. Because my Word actually updated today, it shows me kind of dashed potential borders. However, if I press print, you know, you can see that there aren't borders here. We're back at table design. In APA, there should be a line after the table title. So just in this section, it's just 1 cell, to be honest. I press table design, borders, bottom border. And also there should be a straight line before notes. So I press it on the note word and I select borders, top border. These are the 2 borders that we must have anytime. So again, if I take a look at the print, look, table 1, fictitious enrollments, and before notes. So this, the body of the table is between those 2 lines. Table heading, note section kind of are not sort of tables, even though they're part of the table. But this is just, the adjustment techniques. Then SOE department, undergraduate, graduate, total, and master CS, PhD, these are all column titles, right? So APA requires that column titles are separated from the entries. So what we do, SOE department, as we select table design, border, bottom border, undergraduate, bottom border, master CAS, PhD, bottom border, total, bottom border. And because it's a decked, what I call the decked column, graduate has 3 little columns. Undergraduate, we also select table design, border, bottom border. Okay. Again, if I look at the printing, this is what it looks like now. And that's all. We do not need any more borders. But we're not done. So we created only horizontal borders, only specific horizontal. We do not place any more. Then the table has to be adjusted to the width of the screen. First of all, I'll make sure that it's in the Times New Roman style and that it's 12. That's correct. And then to adjust it to the width of the screen, we go to Layout, Auto Fit. So Layout, Auto Fit window. Kaboom. So again, if I take a look at the printing table, this is what it looks like now. The reason it's done is because we don't confuse the text that goes before or after the table. So we adjust it to the width of the screen. However, we're not done yet. APA allows the body of the table. So anything that is in between table title, table number, and the notes, it allows the table body to be single space or double space or 1.5 space. That's fine. I usually do a single space so that the numbers are clustered closely. It's easier. However, between table number and table title, those should be double spaced. The notes should be double spaced. So we select table, well, actually whole text. We go to home screen, to paragraph, and just the spacing, we do double spacing. And the same we do for the notes. We select the notes and we do double spacing. And if I look at the print version of the table, so table 1, double space, table title, double space, table body, single space, and then notes in the double space. This is our APA table. That's all. I had one more example. I'll probably leave it as homework. Just in the interest of time, you can create, just following the structure, what we did here, you can make the same for table 2. I want to say a few words about the third document. We'll be wrapping up the webinar. The third document, it is 38 pages, but don't get shocked. This is post-workshop manual. This is everything we discussed today and more, a little bit more. For example, there's one section, I called it, like insert citations. We did it in MS Word automatically, but then when we have to adjust things, some other things might be adjusted as well. For example, what if the original publication was dated different date? For example, Darwin, he published his work in 72, but I have the book from 98. So this is what we do when we are writing our paper in text, but in the references, we put only this date, the letter date of the book, but we have to add a statement, original work published 1872. This is not done in Mendeley. You have to adjust those things manually. Or if it's a translated book, we have to add the name of the translator, also kind of manually. And you can incorporate it into Mendeley and then it'll be in italics. Or if a journal article is in another language, but it's, like I said, a little beyond the scope of what we are doing here. I hope that these materials will be handy. I mean, a lot of screenshots, if you can see what to press. Everything we did today is there. So I thank those people who survived. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, we kind of 2 minutes late with our workshop, but I'm happy to stay for a little longer if you have questions or comments. But officially, we're complete. Thank you so much for your attention.